Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Soviet Russian Bear Show, and today I have a returning guest on my channel, Cody, who is right now in California. And the subject of today's video, the subject is what's going on in the United States, the riots, the protests, the civil unrests that are going on right now in the United States. So, my first question is, what's going on? Really, who is George Floyd? So, was he like completely innocent? Maybe he did have a criminal records. What is his criminal record? I mean, so
He had
yeah, go on.
he had a few I'm actually not sure of his criminal record. There are we do know they found fentanyl in in his system when they did the autopsy. Um um he um he did have some drug charges, minor. When you look at the guy, the crime he was committing was he was passing out fake $20 bills, because
Hmm.
apparently it was a bouncer that lost his job. So I think so. When we look at what happened, he probably lost his job due to the nightclubs closing, or if it was a bar, probably the bar closing, some type of night. So what he was probably in a desperate situation. He was using fake $20 bills, and on top of that, if you watch the video, what happened is he's put under arrest. He refuses to get in the car because apparently, when you look at it now, the guy was mentally ill. So he's claustrophobic. He wanted to walk to the police station. He didn't want to walk him to the police station. He decided to strangle him, and I guess he strangled him for 8 minutes, and he killed him. And it caused riots in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
and a bunch of crap happened. And then it just was spread all throughout the country, and no one knows what's going on. And the interesting thing about this is you look at this and you think back to Ferguson during Michael Brown. You
Yeah.
think back to Baltimore with Freddie Gray,
Yeah.
and there were some riots in South Carolina. I forget the guy's name of the guy that was killed. Unfortunately,
Charlottesville. The city was Charlottesville.
no, that was different. There was a riot of an unarmed black guy killed
Uh,
in South Carolina. It's like right after Baltimore.
mm,
And the difference between these riots and this
yeah.
one was that they only stayed in the city they were. Even in the LA riots back in the early 90s, they stayed in LA. They spread to Oakland to a bit. I mean, there were some skirmishes in Oakland, but they really these just spread all throughout the country. All throughout the country. Police stations burning, cops getting shot, National Guard coming, people, all walks of life coming out. And the one thing that got me is they went to Beverly Hills, and these guys were white, they were not
Yeah.
black. And they started screaming, "Eat the rich." So the thing that gets me is this is not about the death of George Floyd anymore. It is about the concentration of wealth. It is about the fact that the top the richest families in the United States at the first week of the lockdown gained $400 billion, where millions of people lost their jobs and slipped into poverty. So everyone's out of work now. No one likes the government. Everyone's pissed at the system,
Yeah.
and they all end up out in the street. That's what it looks like to me.
All
To
right.
me, that looks like, because I think that's what it is like. It gives memories of Occupy Wall Street back.
Yeah. That's why I invited you to ask for your perspective as an American citizen and as a person who lives in America, in the United States, because like I have nothing against Russian media, but like our state-owned media, they translate one point, but our like more pro-Western oriented media, yes, there are still such type of media in Russia. They say that it was about racism and blah blah blah. So the next question is, do you think that these riots are organic? Do you think they come from the people and are not orchestrated by some establishment like or how I like to call it, the deep state?
Well, here's the scary part. No one knows.
No
Not
one
even the
knows.
government knows. The Congress even set in a special investigation to figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny. One thing that got me is George Soros came out with all the accusations he's beginning. Now, we know George Soros. He doesn't now we know he likes to brag about things that he funds.
Yeah.
George Soros does a lot of things, but he's not a liar. He will admit that if he's funding something, he'll admit it. So what happens is he straight up denies he had nothing to do with the attack on the Capitol building. Because the Capitol building got attacked, it got ransacked. The White House there was fires set all off along the White House, around the White House. George Soros said he had nothing to do with that. The AFL-CIO building got set on fire, and for people that don't know that is one of the biggest pro-union organizations in the country. The guard tower got set on fire. The Minneapolis police station got set on fire. Rich, wealthy neighborhoods were set aflame. Just everything and everything was being attacked.
Yeah, because I had thoughts in my mind that that I had actually thought in my mind for a couple seconds that actually the anti-Trump like democratic establishment politicians may be behind those riots to show the people that, oh, Trump is bad, he cannot stop the violence, he will only provoke more riots and more violence with his tweets like that he will send National Guard if there's going to be looting, there's going to be shooting and blah blah blah. So I had such thought in my mind that the establishment Democrat politicians are behind those riots. What can you say? What's your point?
I think part of the protesters they're behind. I think the daytime, I hate to call them this word, but peaceful protesters during the day. I hate to use that word, but I don't. For lack of a better word, we'll just call them that. Yeah, I think they're behind BLM, the Black Lives Matter, but
Yeah.
they're not even completely behind it because there's so many other players going on. They don't know what's going on. First of all, when you look at Antifa and anarchists, what they usually do is they smash windows.
Yeah.
Now, regardless of what people say, well, Antifa does not usually do looting. The looting is usually done by criminal elements, opportunists that come into the riots. There is someone going around attacking strategical targets, such as the White House.
Oh yeah.
Setting fires to
And they even got the Trump. Trump was even hiding in the bunker, in the presidential bunker. Have you heard about it?
I remember the night it happened. I was wide awake, watching Twitter, watching everything that was going on.
Like they got Trump hiding in his bunker, and there was a hashtag calling Trump hashtag bunker bitch.
A bunker boy was the hashtag. Not only that, for the first time in American history, this has never happened before. They knocked the barricades down, the black gates around the White House. Those have never been knocked down before. Not even in 1968 and 1969, peak of civil unrest, where they knocked down.
Oh yeah.
So that was the interesting part. If you can and the Secret Service, I'm not sure if this is correct, and I'm hearing about 60 Secret Service agents were injured.
Oh.
During that time.
Oh.
That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good.
Essentially,
what this is making, what it's making the U.S. government look like around the world. It's making it look weak. I do think there's elements that are it's about race, but for the most part, for the most people participating, it's about class. I do think
Oh,
it's a class issue. It's a class issue um, that since the lockdown began, um, the top the richest families in America have increased their wealth by $400 billion, while the
mhm,
rest have become unemployed. The rest of us have become unemployed,
yeah,
dipped into poverty, and the George Floyd shooting, not shooting, the killing of George
killing.
Floyd, yeah, the killing of George Floyd was pretty much the trigger. And when you look at the peak of the violence, which was the attack on the Capitol building, the attack on the White House, it was looking a lot like an uprising. It was looking like something out of when the Soviet bloc fell in the 90s, like when Poland the revolution in Poland, the revolution in Romania,
Dude,
um, yeah,
dude,
when the
you have guessed my second question. You guessed it because I was just about to ask you this question that there is resemblance of what's going on in the U.S. right now. It is striking. It is striking to what was going on in with what was going on in the socialist in the Eastern Bloc in the USSR. Look, ethnic conflicts, check. Um, the perestroika type of rhetoric that the Soviet Union was not great, that it did many atrocities, and the fucking I don't know, the fucking Holodomor, Katyn. It's similar to what the liberals, the liberal left is pushing, that all white people are perpetually inherently racist and they are guilty for this and that and blah blah blah. And you see, man, also economic crisis, people getting unemployed, and well, epidemic. I have to say that the only difference is there was no pandemic in the when the Soviet socialist bloc and the Soviet Union was collapsing. But other than that, the resemblance is undeniably uncanny.
there definitely is ethnic tensions, that I will say. There is there's ethnic tensions, there's poverty,
Yeah.
there's chaos in the government,
Yes. Yes.
there's there's chaos on the internet, there's struggle on the international level. You you should know about that, being a Russian citizen.
Yeah.
The the struggle. Um, it does resemble the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Um, And what almost happened, see, the United States almost collapsed before the Soviet Union in the 1960s.
Oh.
But somehow we were able, miraculously, to change the political system, not change the political system, but to rearrange the parties in a way to get order back. So as you know, conservatives and white Southerners fled to the Republican Party,
Yeah.
and then you had progressives, blacks, and others flee to the Democratic Party, and that's how we got our
Yeah.
order back then. However, that same thing cannot be done again. We cannot rearrange the political system again. That was only a delaying tactic in the United States. See, the strategy back then was to survive, was to outlive the Soviet Union. So there was a competition to see which power was to outlive the other. And and the Soviet Union nearly won the Cold War. If the chaos in the 60s would have erupted into an uprising that brought down the United States, the Soviet Union would have won the Cold War. Part of the reason part of the reason there was no uprising is the ethnic tensions were not bad because the country was still vastly homogenous. We do not have the homogeny anymore.
Yeah.
We have many. We just don't have divisions on the racial, on the ethnic lines. We have divisions on regional lines. California doesn't want to be part of the union anymore. There's the old Southern secessionist movement has come back. Texans don't want to be a part of it. I mean, there's even Hawaiian and Alaskan secessionist movements.
Yeah.
The Appalachian Mountains, they hate being part of the Union.
Oh.
The Midwest probably feels the most betrayed because of the outsourcing to East Asia and to Mexico.
Yeah, those industrial cities are just, look at Detroit, look at Chicago, look at the Rust Belt,
No, Milwaukee,
Ohio.
Cleveland. Yeah, Chicago's very bad, but Chicago didn't get hit as hard as Cleveland. Yes, there's violence in Chicago, but it's concentrated in South Chicago, South side Chicago. Now, most of the city's relatively safe. Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Detroit are much more violent than Chicago.
Oh, I see.
Chicago just has a very concentrated violence
Oh,
in
I
the south
see.
part of it. It's like the south part of the south side of Chicago is so dangerous. You don't want to go walking. You don't want to even go walking down that city at night. Yeah, that's like asking. That's suicide.
Yeah,
That's
especially
suicide.
if you're white.
Oh, you can be black and die in that city
Oh.
walking down the wrong area at night. It
Mm-hmm.
don't matter. It doesn't matter what color you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see. Thank God we don't have such as fucked up cities here, and that's a blessing. So, with the all like oil prices, the coronavirus pandemic, and I see top economists like in the United States, such as Peter Schiff, and their outlooks look like they basically they say that the United States is heading towards another Great Depression. Like maybe like as bad or maybe even worse what happened in the 1920s, what happened like in 1929 and 1930s. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, you got to look as we also have a different type of economy than we did back then. Our economy was mostly back then was mostly manufacturing. We have a service economy today, and it's hard to. I'm not an economist, and it's
Me
hard to tell.
neither.
It's hard to tell how a depression would hit a service economy. So cities. So let's put it this way: agricultural, rural America was not hit very hard by the Great Depression. But manufacturing cities like Detroit, New York, Philadelphia, back then these were industrial cities. In the 20s they were. They had an 80% unemployment rate. So and then you had cities like you had places like in Wyoming and Iowa. They were barely hit hard. These towns were, because agriculture doesn't get hit hard by depressions. So I'm not sure how it's going to hit the service economy. Since we do have a consumer-based economy and people are not going to be buying many goods, retail is going to be hit hard. That's where a lot of people are employed. One of the biggest employers is Walmart. They're going to be hit very hard. Amazon will be hit hard. All of these retailers will be hit hard. And all of these services will be hit hard. Financial people, companies that do financial services, if people won't have much money, they won't be needing financial services. Won't be paying for them. They'll be hit hard. Pretty much everyone's going to be hit hard. It will be a disaster. The currency collapse is probably what is more dire than the depression.
Like the dollar implosion or imploding, yeah.
It's weakening right now due to the unrest.
Yeah.
And we know that China's coming out with their new crypto yuan, for lack of a better word, that will be backed by gold. And it's not only a new currency, it is a new payment system. So this is the way to get around U.S. sanctions. When that happens, it will become a new world reserve currency. It will destroy the dollar. I'm not sure how fast. It could be overnight. It could be in a few weeks. It could be in a few months. That will, and since we know that the entire U.S. economy hangs on a thread, that thread being the dollar as the world reserve currency,
Yeah.
that will destroy the entire economy. It will be a complete economic collapse, and the unrest you're seeing will be like a choir boy compared to what we're going to see.
Yeah, and probably hyperinflation will be like Weimar Republic or something.
Definitely hyperinflation.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve will try to get it under control. Um, Probably going to ban the ownership of gold, and they're probably going to try to switch to digital currency
Oh.
to try to control the use of the dollar.
Mm. Well,
And
well, I heard Peter Schiff interview Mark Dyson interviewed Peter Schiff, and he said that the best options right now is to invest in foreign stocks and into precious metals such as gold, silver, platinum.
that is the best thing you can do right now. Gold, silver, platinum, anything tangible
Yeah,
is
physical,
has more,
physical, yeah, tangible.
yeah, tangible. Um,
Foreign.
Even real estate will hold value for a while. Real
Mm,
estate, land, cars, anything that'll hold value. It,
mm.
it doesn't not necessarily, if you can't afford gold and silver since it's expensive, you can always get real estate. You can always get cars. You can always get bullets. Bullets would be better than the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, so you can probably imagine that, like farmers at the farmers market, like farmers grow their food, so they get a street farmers market to sell their food. So if dollar is devalued, how are they going to sell their food for paper, which worth nothing?
I'm not soothsayer, but I assume we would come up with something that is temporarily. We'd come up with something that has that's worth more than a dollar. I mean, a lot of countries they come up with crazy things as currency.
Yeah.
They use this one. They used something in Bolivia like way back
Mhm.
as a replacement. I forget what it is, but it was some daily household tool they started selling. That
Oh,
was yeah.
I see.
They
I
started
see.
exchange, they started exchanging that for currency.
Okay, so my next question is: will the United States survive as a unitary nation after that? Or do you think the US is going to collapse like the Soviet Union, like it's just, will the US preserve itself as a nation?
No,
You think not?
the question isn't if. The question is when.
Uh,
Yes.
I see. So, as you said, that California might succeed from the Union, Texas, I don't know.
California and Texas are the most obvious ones.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Of course, I'm not saying it should happen, and I'm not saying I'm so like glad about this. Like, I I think people who are not very pro Russia, who are not very like fond of Putin or Russia's foreign policy, they've been telling me, "Oh, you wish to destroy America. You wish to like just no." What I
I'll tell you
really
one thing. As an American citizen, the best thing for Americans is for the United States to break up.
really.
Yes, the best thing for Americans is for the United States to break up because what you have right now is you have a bunch of people in Washington that are so disconnected from the populace. The U.S. is so big, so culturally different,
Mhm.
even ethnically different. I mean, forcing these people together is just torture. It's just torture for everyone. It doesn't. The union doesn't work. The you the the Constitution is gone. Pretty much, no one follows this. Nobody follows this. The Republic is only here in name only. They step. Uh, I mean, you can look. You can look at the news. They step on the Constitution. I mean, every day. I mean, you're looking at protests are being banned. That's right to assembly, freedom to
Yeah,
assembly.
yeah.
I mean, censoring posts on Twitter and Facebook. That's freedom of the press. Freedom of press, right there, is being stomped on.
Yeah.
Um, it's the best thing for Americans is for the union to collapse, is for it to break apart.
Mm-hmm.
And what brings the violence and the turmoil is how to break it apart. It's when and how it will happen is the problem.
All right, but just in case you didn't know that, I remember how. No, I don't personally remember, but from what my mom and dad, my grandma, my grandpa told me that how the Soviet Union broke apart. It wasn't really a nice thing to witness.
Well, I remember Putin calling it a tragedy, and when he was questioned on that, he said it's because entire families were separated.
Yes, yes. So imagine a family in California and their relatives, let's say, live in Texas, and now they are divided by the borders of independent states.
That is essentially what will happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So I don't really have anything to say or to ask you. If you want to add something, so please feel free to do so.
Oh yes, I have my new site up and running.
Yeah.
Um, we have a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook. We're calling it Revolutionary Socialist Network.
All right.
I will be posting all my articles and the videos will be posted there. We're also going to have a weekly podcast there, and that's all. Oh, that's all I would like to add.
Yeah, so okay, I will post the link to your website in a pinned comment in the comment section of this video and in the description box under this video when I upload it. Okay, so this has been Cody Austin from California, and I'm Soviet Russian Bear. Thanks for tuning in to into Soviet Bear Show. So Cody, it's been a pleasure to have you on my channel. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye and
Always. All
cheer. Yeah.
right.
All right.
We will talk later. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Cheers.